Whoa! As the heavenly injury guard's gentle true chi landed on Ho Lin's chest, his body trembled, and he woke up, spewing out excrement and urine. Immediately, the group of youths below the high platform retreated, their gazes towards Ho Lin filled with disgust. This was a man who had emerged from a septic tank. Duan, Ling, Tian. After regaining his senses, Ho Lin realized what had happened to him and looked at the purple figure on the high platform again, his eyes filled with venom. His body trembled violently with anger and hatred. Duan Ling Tian, if I don't kill you, I, Ho Lin, swear I am not human. Ho Lin's eyes were bloodshot. Having suffered such humiliation in front of so many people, he was on the verge of collapse. He roared inwardly, solidifying Duan Ling Tian as his sworn enemy. Hearing Ho Lin call his name, word by word, Duan Ling Tian merely glanced at him indifferently. He naturally noticed the hatred in Ho Lin's eyes, but didn't care. After taking a pill, Ho Lin recovered for a moment. Once he could stand, he frantically rushed out of the hidden dragon camp to find a place to wash himself, let alone others. Even he couldn't stand his current state. After Ho Lin left, all eyes unanimously returned to Duan Ling Tian, making him the center of attention. Guoli. Duan Ling Tian looked at Guoli. He already knew that Guoli had been defeated by Ho Lin and removed from the 13 protectors. There's still a month left, you. Don't worry, I'm confident. Guoli naturally knew what Duan Ling Tian was referring to. She nodded and smiled at him, then walked to the front of Wooden House number 12 and issued a challenge. The owner of Wooden House number 12 was a Dao cultivator in the mid-stage of the Transcendence Realm. This mid-stage Transcendence Realm Dao cultivator was ranked 11th among the 13 protectors 3 months ago, before Duan Ling Tian and Guoli arrived. However, because Duan Ling Tian defeated Zhang Zhilong and entered the 6th position of the 13 protectors, he also moved down 1 rank. Guoli, you want to challenge me? The Dao cultivator who walked out of the wooden house was a young man wearing a loose long robe, and he was the only Dao cultivator among the 13 protectors to stand out among the martial and Dao cultivators in the mid-stage of the Transcendence Realm in the Hidden Dragon Camp and become one of the 13 protectors. The strength of this young Dao cultivator was self-evident. I'll learn from you. Guoli nodded at the young man and assumed her stance. Dao cultivator? Duan Ling Tian raised an eyebrow. This was the first time he had seen a Dao cultivator in action since coming to the Dao Martial Saint Land. I wonder how the techniques of Dao cultivators in the Dao Martial Saint Land differ from those I encountered on the overseas Saint Island. Duan Ling Tian still remembered. Back then, on Half Moon Island, an overseas Saint Island, the Dao cultivators he encountered would often summon small thunder penalties, using the power of nature, appearing majestic and awe-inspiring. Compared to martial cultivators, the methods of those Dao cultivators were more spectacular. Most importantly, they specialized in long-range attack methods, and once they gained the upper hand, martial cultivators couldn't get close. As Guoli and the young Dao cultivator clashed, Duan Ling Tian was surprised to find the display of this mid-stage Transcendence Realm Dao cultivator seemed less spectacular than the Dao cultivators he had seen on Half Moon Island. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The young Dao cultivator's loose long robe trembled, and in an instant, wind blades surrounded his body, sweeping towards Guoli like an overwhelming tide. No matter where Guoli dodged, they followed her. His loose long robe is his saint weapon. Duan Ling Tian could easily discern this. Humph! Guoli let out a soft cry, and her black long whip also shook, instantly forming a protective barrier in front of her as she unleashed a defensive move. While performing the defensive move, Guoli, enduring the wind blades, shot forward, aiming directly at the young Dao cultivator. Facing Guoli, who was charging forward with all her might, the young Dao cultivator's expression was extremely grave. He then leaped into the air. As he ascended, a sharp glint flashed in his eyes, and he chopped down with a hand blade. In an instant, all the wind blades surrounding him flew above his head, transforming into a giant wind blade, like a massive cyan blade, emitting waves of sharp aura. Immediately after, the cyan giant blade moved, slashing down at Guoli. The blade's edge seemed capable of tearing through everything. Facing this strike, Guoli's pretty face tensed, and she dodged it with extreme difficulty. However, one could see strands of her black hair being cut in the air. One could imagine how perilous that moment was. This is a Saint-grade Dao skill. It's truly formidable. If it were Guoli from 3 months ago, she might not have been his match. But now, Duan Ling Tian could tell. Although the Saint-grade Dao skill displayed by the young Dao cultivator was profound, that last strike seemed to be his strongest move. Duan Ling Tian could find the answer on the young Dao cultivator's face. Just now, when Guoli dodged that strike, the young Dao cultivator's previously unperturbed expression showed a ripple of change. Just as Duan Ling Tian had thought, after Guoli dodged that strike, she took the initiative everywhere. After 30 moves, she finally managed to get close, reaching the young Dao cultivator's front. She struck out with a palm, generating a gentle breeze, sending the young Dao cultivator flying. Thank you for the lesson. Guoli nodded slightly at the young Dao cultivator, who stood 10 meters away, his face slightly pale. Thank you for holding back. The young Dao cultivator took a deep breath, took a pill, recovered some of his injuries, and then walked to wooden house number 13, preparing to enter it to cultivate. I think, unless you can defeat the person ranked above you. Otherwise, there's no need for you to go in. Guoli reminded him. What do you mean? The young Dao cultivator frowned. Soon, he heard discussions from below the high platform and got his answer. Ho Lin had broken through to the late stage of the Transcendence realm, and he had just defeated Guoli. The young Dao cultivator's face darkened slightly. In another month, it would be the day the city lord emerged from seclusion. At that time, the city lord would set a test for the 13 protectors and choose disciples from among them. If he were removed from the 13 protectors, he would lose the opportunity to participate in the test. Ho Lin is back, someone shouted, and Ho Lin, after a wash and a change of clothes, walked in from outside the hidden dragon camp. However, his expression was not good. It was understandable. Being thrown into a septic tank in front of so many people, no one could accept it. After Ho Lin entered the hidden dragon camp, his cold gaze remained fixed on Duan Ling Tian. Now, he regarded Duan Ling Tian as a mortal enemy, a fight to the death. Climbing onto the high platform, Ho Lin challenged the 7th of the 13 protectors, a martial cultivator in the mid-stage of the Transcendence realm who had not yet broken through, and whom Ho Lin had been far inferior to in the past. Ho Lin, seeing someone challenge him, this mid-stage Transcendence realm martial cultivator also walked out. Upon realizing it was Ho Lin, he was somewhat surprised. Ho Lin, you seem to have a smell on you. This smell, it's like a septic tank. Having been cultivating diligently in wooden house number 7, he didn't know what had just happened. Smelling something on Ho Lin, he casually mentioned it, frowning at the same time. It seems Ho Lin hasn't washed thoroughly yet. How could it be so easy to wash off? That was a septic tank. Below the high platform, many people whispered in low voices. Septic tank. The mid-stage Transcendence realm martial cultivator who had just walked out of wooden house number 7 hadn't even realized what was going on when a thunderous roar came from his ear. You're courting death. It was Ho Lin's furious roar. Ho Lin attacked, and in just one encounter, he sent the original owner of wooden house number 7 flying. Ho Lin, who had broken through to the late stage of the Transcendence realm, defeated a mid-stage Transcendence realm martial cultivator without any suspense. You broke through? The mid-stage Transcendence realm martial cultivator, who was defeated before he could react, looked at Ho Lin again, his eyes filled with shock. Humph! With a cold snort, Ho Lin swept a chilling glance at Duan Ling Tian's location and, filled with hatred, stepped into wooden house number 7. For a time, that young Dao cultivator was removed, and Guoli returned to wooden house number 13, first defeated by Xiong Quan, then defeating the young Dao cultivator. She successfully remained on the high platform, retaining her title as one of the 13 protectors. At this point, the high platform returned to peace. Duan Ling Tian also returned to his wooden house. After closing the door, he took out the 7-treasure exquisite pagoda, and with a thought, entered it, ascended to the 2nd floor, and continued cultivating his Saint-grade martial art, the Grand Yin Meteor Arrow. Time quietly passed, and Duan Ling Tian's mastery of the moves within the Grand Yin Meteor Arrow became increasingly proficient. A month later, it would be the day the city lord of Chosan City emerged from seclusion. Among the 13 protectors, except for Ho Lin, who still didn't know about the city lord taking disciples, and Duan Ling Tian, who had no interest in becoming the city lord's disciple. The other 11 cultivated as if their lives depended on it. After cultivating for 2 months on the 2nd floor of the 7-treasure exquisite pagoda, Duan Ling Tian exited the pagoda. It wasn't that he didn't want to continue cultivating, but after cultivating for so long, he felt a sense of numbness. He knew this was caused by his eagerness to achieve success too quickly. Now, he needed to take a breather first. I've been in Shosan City for so long, and I haven't left the City Lord's mansion. Now, with my cultivation unlikely to advance significantly in a short time, and the Grandian Meteor Arrow also encountering a bottleneck, I'll go out and relax. With a thought, Duan Ling Tian put away the 7-treasure exquisite pagoda and walked out of Wooden House number 6. After leaving Wooden House number 6, Duan Ling Tian walked towards the pavilion. Members of the Hidden Dragon Camp, if they wished to leave the Hidden Dragon Camp, needed to report to the Hidden Dragon Camp manager, the Heavenly Injury Guard. Just as he reached the pavilion, Duan Ling Tian heard a cold voice. 20 days ago, you already left the Hidden Dragon Camp once without reporting. Therefore, for the next 3 months, unless there is an order from the City Lord's mansion, you are not allowed to leave the Hidden Dragon Camp by half a step. It was the Heavenly Injury Guard's voice. 20 days ago, Duan Ling Tian was startled. Calculating the time, it seemed to be the day Ho Lin challenged him, causing him to be shaken out of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda. That day, the 13 protectors were reshuffled, and the only Dao cultivator was removed from the list. Of course, 20 days outside is equivalent to 2 months inside the second level of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda. Lord Heavenly Injury Guard, you know about that time 20 days ago. I only left the Hidden Dragon Camp because of Duan Ling Tian. Moreover, I didn't go out. I just washed up in the City Lord's mansion. Another voice sounded, making Duan Ling Tian smile involuntarily. He recognized it as Ho Lin's voice. Ho Lin wanted to leave the Hidden Dragon Camp to go out, but because he had left the Hidden Dragon Camp 20 days ago after falling into the septic tank, he was unable to do so. Therefore, he was prohibited from leaving the Hidden Dragon Camp again within 3 months. Precisely because of that, I did not punish you for leaving the Hidden Dragon Camp without reporting it. The Heavenly Injury Guard's cold words came again, go back. Immediately afterward, Duan Ling Tian saw Ho Lin walking out of the pavilion angrily. Duan Ling Tian merely glanced at him indifferently and walked past him. Duan Ling Tian. Seeing Duan Ling Tian, Ho Lin's eyes predictably flashed with cold light. He clenched his fists, his face full of humiliation. This Duan Ling Tian didn't just make him lose face 20 days ago. He also made him lose an opportunity to go out. Members of the Hidden Dragon Camp only get 1 chance to go out every 3 months. At other times, going out is prohibited unless there is an order from the City Lord's mansion. Duan Ling Tian walked into the pavilion and stated straightforwardly, Lord Heavenly Injury Guard, I need to go out for a trip. Remember to return within 10 days. The Heavenly Injury Guard glanced at Duan Ling Tian, and as he raised his hand, True Chi wrapped around a token and sent it before Duan Ling Tian, speaking faintly. Yes, Duan Ling Tian nodded, put away the token, turned around, and walked out of the pavilion. And right at this moment, a rare smile appeared at the corner of the Heavenly Injury Guard's mouth. However, this smile vanished in a flash. No one saw it. As Duan Ling Tian left the Hidden Dragon Camp, Ho Lin arrived in front of Wooden House number 7. Turning his head slightly, he saw Duan Ling Tian's departing figure, and his face instantly grew even gloomier. After leaving the Hidden Dragon Camp, Duan Ling Tian asked for directions regarding the route he took when he first arrived by carriage and walked outward. Before long, the main gate of the City Lord's mansion appeared before his eyes. Upon reaching the entrance of the City Lord's mansion, Duan Ling Tian was stopped. Show your token. The guard at the entrance of the City Lord's mansion said coldly. Duan Ling Tian took out the token the Heavenly Injury Guard gave him and handed it to the guard. After taking a look, the latter nodded faintly. Hidden Dragon Camp members may leave for 10 days. If you exceed 10 days, you will be escorted back to the Hidden Dragon Camp for punishment. Duan Ling Tian nodded. For him, 10 days was enough time. He merely wanted to go out and relax. Walking out of the City Lord's mansion gate, Duan Ling Tian traveled through the streets, following the memory of his arrival nearly 4 months ago, and reached the bustling marketplace of Chioshan City. Everything was sold in the marketplace. Sacred artifacts, sold on the street. Duan Ling Tian was stunned when he saw sacred artifacts on some stalls. Although they were only human-rank low-grade sacred artifacts, selling them on street stalls was truly too exaggerated. Human-rank low-grade sacred artifacts, when placed in the Yunshao continent, are quasi-emperor-grade spirit artifacts, and quasi-emperor grade spirit artifacts often only exist in the hands of martial emperor experts in the martial emperor realm. Of course, the martial emperor realm of the Yunxiao continent is the innate void realm of the Dao martial holy land. Innate medicinal pills. Soon, Duan Lingtian found that individual stalls were selling innate medicinal pills. Although they were innate medicinal pills of lower quality, they could still be compared to the quasi-emperor grade medicinal pills he had refined. Wait! Suddenly, Duan Lingtian remembered something, a very important matter. Now, the elemental energy no longer exists inside my body. I wonder if I can still condense artifact fire or pill fire. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian quickly found a remote spot and began to test it. Following the method of condensing artifact fire and pill fire using elemental energy, Duan Lingtian tried for a long time, but his true qi showed no reaction. This made Duan Lingtian's heart sink. Could it be that his artifact refining and medicinal refining techniques were just ruined? Duan Lingtian was in a daze for a while before coming back to his senses. He took a deep breath and laughed self-deprecatingly. So what if they're ruined? They weren't originally mine anyway. Although the memories of Reincarnation Martial Emperor were still there, Reincarnation Martial Emperor himself was only a martial god expert and had never been involved in the level of the Dao martial holy land. Therefore, upon arriving at the Dao martial holy land, everything had to be explored by Duan Lingtian himself. Having come to terms with it, Duan Lingtian naturally stopped dwelling on it. Anyway, he didn't rely on artifact refining or medicinal refining to make a living. Furthermore, even if he could still condense artifact fire and pill fire now, he could, at most, only refine human rank medium-grade sacred artifacts and innate medicinal pills. To advance further, he needed to explore on his own. The former him, having fused the Reincarnation Martial Emperor's lifelong artifact refining and medicinal refining techniques and experience, only needed his cultivation to reach a certain level to condense the corresponding artifact fire and pill fire and refine higher-level spiritual artifacts and medicinal pills. But now, that was impossible. I already feel like I have too little time to cultivate. Even if all my artifact refining and medicinal refining techniques were still usable, I would be too lazy to continue studying them. Wouldn't trying to research and improve by myself exhaust me to death? Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian felt completely relieved. Returning to the bustling marketplace, Duan Lingtian traveled through the streets. Occasionally, he would enter some shops to look at the sacred artifacts and innate medicinal pills sold inside. Inside the shops, Duan Lingtian saw human-rank medium-grade sacred artifacts and innate medicinal pills of extremely high quality. The price of a human-rank medium-grade sacred artifact was roughly around 10,000 ninth-grade saint stones. The price of a bottle of innate medicinal pills was roughly around 1,000 ninth-grade saint stones. Human-rank medium-grade sacred artifacts can compare to the emperor-grade spirit artifacts I refined before. These innate medicinal pills can compare to the emperor-grade medicinal pills I refined before. However, a human-rank medium-grade sacred artifact only costs 10,000 ninth-grade saint stones. 10,000 ninth-grade saint stones are equivalent to 1 5th-grade saint stone, and Xuan gave me over 900 5th-grade saint stones. As long as I want, I can buy over 900 human-rank medium-grade sacred artifacts at any time. This is just using 5th-grade saint stones. If I also use the 4th-grade saint stones, I could buy 2,000 human-rank medium-grade sacred artifacts. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but smile bitterly. And these innate medicinal pills too. 1 5th-grade saint stone can buy 10 bottles. Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly with emotion. Only now did he realize that the Emperor-grade spirit artifacts and Emperor-grade medicinal pills he had refined previously were so cheap here. However, so far, I haven't seen any Saint-grade martial arts for sale. The City Lord's mansion does have Saint-grade martial arts, but they require merit points. Duan Lingtian shook his head. The main reason he came out this time was to see if there were any Saint-grade martial arts specializing in defensive moves for sale. Although the Taiyan Meteor Arrow has defensive moves, Duan Lingtian cannot cultivate them right now. Therefore, he wanted to find defensive moves from other Saint-grade martial arts to make do. With my current physical body, my explosive power and defense are already strong. If I cultivate the defensive moves of a Saint-grade martial arts, even late profound level martial cultivators or Dao cultivators might not be able to break my defense. Duan Lingtian's physical body is even stronger than the true body of a five-clawed divine dragon. Once combined with the defensive moves and saint-grade martial arts, his defense will be even more terrifying. It was precisely for this reason that Duan Lingtian urgently wanted to cultivate the defensive moves within saint-grade martial arts. 3 days from now is the day the Rare Treasures Pavilion holds its auction. The Rare Treasures Pavilion only holds an auction once a year, so there must be many good things. Duan Lingtian was walking on the road when a voice suddenly reached his ears. That's right, I heard that in 3 days, the Rare Treasures Pavilion will auction 3 Saint Scrolls containing Saint-grade martial arts. Wouldn't that be 3 sets of Saint-grade martial arts? Duan Lingtian turned his head and found that it was 2 people passing by side who were chatting. Activating his heavenly eye vision, Duan Lingtian saw through the cultivation of the 2 people, 2 innate void realm experts, 2 older brothers. Duan Lingtian turned and chased after them, stopping the 2 men, and asked, "What is this Rare Treasures Pavilion auction you just mentioned? Could you tell me about it?" The 2 middle-aged men who were stopped ignored Duan Lingtian, their expressions turning grim instead. It made sense. No matter who it was, being stopped by a stranger on the street would not make them happy. Here are 2 8th-grade Saint Stones. Consider it a treat for 2 older brothers to have some tea. Duan Lingtian seemed not to notice their unpleasant expressions. As he raised his hand, he took out 2 8th-grade Saint Stones. He had received these 8th-grade Saint Stones at the Hidden Dragon Camp. At the Hidden Dragon Camp, he had only received Saint Stones once, which was after his first full month there. As for the subsequent 2 months, he missed them because he was focused on cultivating inside the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda. Hidden Dragon Camp members receiving Saint Stones are subject to the rule that overdue claims are not honored, and they will not be compensated afterward. However, Duan Lingtian didn't care about 2 months' worth of Saint Stones. One must know that he possessed over 900 5th-grade Saint Stones and 100 4th-grade Saint Stones. Compared to the Saint Stones he held, 2 months' worth from the Hidden Dragon Camp was merely a drop in the ocean. 8th-grade Saint Stones. Hearing this, the 2 middle-aged men's eyes immediately lit up as they took the Saint Stones from Duan Lingtian's hand. They instantly became polite and patiently answered Duan Lingtian's questions. This made Duan Lingtian sigh with emotion. It seemed that no matter where one went, money could make the world go round. From the mouths of the 2 middle-aged men, Duan Lingtian learned that the Rare Treasures Pavilion was actually an industry under the jurisdiction of the City Lord's Mansion. Every year, it would hold a large-scale auction. Every year, at least 1 set of Saint-grade martial arts would be auctioned. Precisely because of this, many people came to Qioshan City every year to participate in the large-scale auction held by the Rare Treasures Pavilion. No wonder I felt there were far more people on the road than when I last came. So it's because the Rare Treasures Pavilion is about to hold an auction. Duan Lingtian suddenly realized. This year, the Rare Treasure Pavilion will auction 3 sets of Saint-grade martial arts, attracting even more people. Even a low-grade Saint-grade martial art is undeniably attractive. Even a 9th-rate force would fight tooth and nail for it. It's important to know that even 9th-rate forces don't have many sets of Saint-grade martial arts. After learning about the Rare Treasure Pavilion's auction process from the 2 middle-aged men, Duan Lingtian made up his mind. He would attend the Rare Treasure Pavilion's auction 3 days later. However, with only 198 8th-grade Saint Stones in my possession, it's impossible to bid for a Saint-grade martial art. Of course, if I were to use 5th-grade Saint Stones, those 9th-rate forces wouldn't be able to compete with me. But it's impossible to expose 5th-grade Saint Stones. Duan Lingtian was well aware of this. Once his 5th-grade Saint Stones were exposed, he would become a target for all. After all, 1 5th-grade Saint Stone is equivalent to 10,000 9th-grade Saint Stones, or 1,000 8th-grade Saint Stones. Who wouldn't want that? Most importantly, the significance of 5th-grade Saint Stones goes beyond that. Only Saint-grade mineral deposits above 6th grade are likely to produce 5th-grade Saint Stones, let alone the strongest force in the area around Qioshan City, the Qioshan City Lord's Mansion, which is merely an 8th-rate force with an 8th-grade Saint Stone mine. Even the large sect that governs 18 cities, including Qioshan City, is merely a 7th-rate force with a 7th-grade Saint Stone mine. In Qioshan City, the occasional appearance of a 6th-grade Saint Stone is already enough to shock people. 5th-grade Saint Stones are simply never seen. That's right. How could I forget? I only need to infuse my spiritual power into the Saint Scroll containing the Saint Grade martial art to read all its contents. A flash of inspiration struck Duan Ling Tian, and he remembered the special nature of his spiritual power. Ordinary martial artists and Dao cultivators, whether cultivating Saint Grade martial arts or Saint Grade Dao arts, even if they obtain the corresponding Saint Scroll, they need to read the information layer by layer. Only by cultivating the Saint Grade martial art to a certain level can they continue to read the subsequent information. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to see the later information. But Duan Ling Tian was different. When he first read the Saint Scroll containing the Saint Grade martial art, Taiyin Meteor Arrow, he instantly recorded all the information in his mind. He only later realized that ordinary martial artists and Dao cultivators couldn't do that. I'll still attend the auction. At that time, no matter who bids for the Saint Grade martial art, I'll offer 108th grade Saint Stones just to borrow it for an instant. I don't think anyone would refuse. Duan Ling Tian smiled, a brilliant smile. He only needed an instant to read all the information within the Saint Grade martial art into his mind. Finally, I can cultivate the defensive moves within the Saint Grade martial art. Duan Ling Tian was in a very good mood. In his joyful mood, Duan Ling Tian wandered around Qiaoshan City. Finally, he stopped in front of a vast, luxurious, and magnificent three-story building. Exotic Arts Pavilion. Duan Ling Tian's gaze was drawn to the huge plaque hanging above the building. What is this place? Duan Ling Tian noticed that each floor of the three-story building was as tall as 2 floors of an ordinary building. So, even though it only had 3 floors, it was extremely tall. Standing in front of the Exotic Arts Pavilion, Duan Ling Tian observed the people entering and exiting, and he noticed that some of them wore a special badge on their chests. There were 2 types of badges. One type had a pattern of a crossed sword and saber. The other had a tilted pill bottle with 3 pills next to it. Curious, Duan Ling Tian walked inside. Upon entering, Duan Ling Tian found the first floor to be very crowded. These people had one thing in common. They were there to post tasks. The tasks they posted were either requests for pills or for saint weapons. Gradually, Duan Ling Tian also learned what the Exotic Arts Pavilion was. The Exotic Arts Pavilion is distributed throughout the Dao Martial Saint Land, and almost every decent city has one. As for what it specifically does, that starts from the first floor of the Exotic Arts Pavilion. The first floor of the Exotic Arts Pavilion is open to everyone. Upon entering, one can post tasks requesting pills, saint weapons, and even Dao charms. The staff of the Exotic Arts Pavilion will organize and record all tasks, then send them up to the 2nd and 3rd floors of the Exotic Arts Pavilion. The 2nd floor of the Exotic Arts Pavilion is a gathering place for saint refiners. Saint refiners are divided into 2 types. One type specializes in alchemy, and the other specializes in artifact refining. In fact, it's similar to the Cloud Continent where Duan Ling Tian was before, simply a general term for alchemists and artifact refiners. And the people Duan Ling Tian just saw wearing 2 different badges were all saint refiners. Those wearing badges with the saber and sword pattern were saint refiners specializing in artifact refining. Those wearing badges with the pill bottle and pill pattern were saint refiners specializing in alchemy. What a pity, I can't condense artifact fire or pill fire right now. Otherwise, I would also be a saint refiner, and an all-around saint refiner at that. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. Saint refiners, when entering the Exotic Arts Pavilion, all go to the 2nd floor. On the 2nd floor, they can accept tasks, complete them, and earn saint stones. Of course, they can also post tasks to find rare materials. And these tasks will be announced on the 1st floor of the Exotic Arts Pavilion. Therefore, the 1st floor of the Exotic Arts Pavilion, besides posting tasks, also sells various rare materials. As for the 3rd floor of the Exotic Arts Pavilion, it is a gathering place for Dao Charm Masters and Saint Rune Masters. Dao Charm Masters refer to Dao cultivators who can inscribe Dao charms, and all Dao Charm Masters are existences above the Saint stage. Only Dao cultivators above the Saint stage can inscribe Dao charms. Of course, not every Dao cultivator above the Saint stage can inscribe Dao charms. Inscribing Dao charms is a technical skill. A city like Qiaoshan City can only be considered a frontier city in the Dao Martial Saint Land. In such a city, powerhouses at the Saint stage are few and far between, and there might not even be any Dao cultivators at the Saint stage. let alone Dao cultivators at the saint stage who know how to inscribe Dao charms. Therefore, Dao charm masters are rarely seen in Xiaoshan City. And saint rune masters refer to martial artists who can engrave saint runes on saint weapons. All saint rune masters are also existences above the saint stage. Only martial artists above the saint stage can engrave saint runes on saint weapons. Of course, not every martial artist above the saint stage knows how to engrave saint runes on saint weapons. Engraving saint runes is also a technical skill. Saint rune masters are as rare as Dao charm masters and are also rarely seen in Xiaoshan City. Even if they are seen, they are merely fleeting visitors in Xiaoshan City. After all, whether it's a Dao charm master or a saint rune master, even the least skilled among them are existences that would be treated as honored guests by seventh-rate forces. For an eighth-rate force, like the Xiaoshan City Lord's Mansion, even the least skilled Dao charm masters or saint rune masters wouldn't pay them any attention. It seems the third floor of the Xiaoshan City Exotic Arts Pavilion is virtually useless. Duanling Tian thought to himself, Saint Rune Master. This is the first time I've heard of that. It was the first time Duanling Tian had heard of Saint Rune Masters. As for Dao Charm Masters, although he had also heard of them for the first time, he had once used the 3 Dao Charms his father left him. Those 3 Dao Charms were clearly made by Dao Charm Masters. Saint Rune Masters can engrave Saint Runes on Saint Weapons, imbuing them with certain attributes. Powerful Saint Runes can even unleash extremely terrifying power. Saint Rune Masters are somewhat similar to Inscription Masters on the Cloud Continent. However, inscriptions are ineffective in the Dao Martial Saint Land. Duanling Tian frowned, then relaxed after a while. Moreover, only martial artists above the Saint stage have the chance to become Saint Rune Masters. Duanling Tian's understanding of Dao Charm Masters and Saint Rune Masters all came from the staff of the Exotic Arts Pavilion. Of course, the Exotic Arts Pavilion staff were so patient in explaining because they had received Saint Stones from Duanling Tian. Exotic Arts Pavilion, Saint Refiners, Dao Charm Masters, Saint Rune Masters. Muttering to himself, Duanling Tian walked out of the Exotic Arts Pavilion and back onto the street. After wandering around for another while, he randomly found an inn and settled down. After settling down, with a thought, Duanling Tian entered the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda again and ascended to the 2nd floor. He continued to cultivate the Saint-grade martial art, Taiyan Meteor Arrow. He stayed in the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda for 6 days, and 2 days passed outside. When Duanling Tian left the 7 Treasures exquisite pagoda, it was already the night before the Rare Treasure Pavilion held its grand auction. That night, Duanling Tian strolled through the night market of Xiaoshan City, experiencing a different local custom. After wandering around, as night deepened, Duanling Tian prepared to return. Big brother, help, help. Someone wants to kill me. Someone wants to kill me. As soon as he walked into a street where almost no one could be seen, Duanling Tian heard a tender and terrified voice from ahead. He focused his gaze and saw a little girl, who looked only 5 or 6 years old, running towards him anxiously. The little girl was exquisitely beautiful, with a dirty face and tattered clothes. In a moment, the little girl reached Duanling Tian, threw her arms open, and tightly hugged his thigh, unwilling to let go for a long time. Little girl, where are your parents? Duanling Tian squatted down, stroked the little girl's head, and asked with a smile. Duanling Tian's gaze towards the little girl was full of gentleness, making the little girl feel as if she was bathed in a spring breeze. Duanling Tian's eyes were very pure, so pure that the little girl felt guilty. Big brother, actually, no one is trying to kill me. You should leave quickly. The little girl bit her lip, seemingly having made some kind of decision, and let go of Duanling Tian's thigh, urging him. Duanling Tian was startled. At this moment, he also felt that something was amiss. Sir, over there, that human trafficker ran that way with my daughter. Human trafficker? Duanling Tian was stunned. With his sharp hearing, he heard sounds coming from ahead on the street. The sounds were getting closer, accompanied by a series of hurried footsteps. My lord, it's him. He's the one who kidnapped my niece. At that moment, Duanling Tian heard a raspy voice from behind him. The raspy voice was unpleasant, sounding like a duck quacking incessantly. Are you with them? Duanling Tian looked at the little girl and asked with a smile. By now, he knew he had encountered the legendary honey trap scam. However, He wasn't worried at all. Instead, he looked intently at the little girl. They hit me. If I don't listen to them, they hit me. The little girl looked at Duan Lingtian's pure gaze, her large watery eyes shimmering with tears. She pulled up her tattered clothes, revealing arms that looked like small lotus roots. With just one look, the smile on Duan Lingtian's face froze, and his eyes seemed to spit fire. Who are they to you? However, Duan Lingtian suppressed his anger and asked as softly as possible, for fear of frightening the little girl. Now, he was almost certain that this was an innocent child. The little girl was only 5 or 6 years old. What could she possibly understand? They took me away. Mommy is gone. Daddy is gone. Grandpa is gone, the little girl said while wiping her tears. The tears streaked across her dirty little face, making her look like a little calico cat. Now, Duan Lingtian was almost certain. The little girl had been kidnapped. Those beasts were using her to play the honey trap game. My lord, it's him. Look, he's made my daughter cry. My lord, I'd recognize him even if he turned to ash. He's the one who kidnapped my niece. My niece is only 6 years old this year. If she's taken by him, how will my brother and sister-in-law survive? The two voices, one from the front and one from behind, arrived before Duan Lingtian. At this moment, Duan Lingtian noticed the little girl was like a startled bird. She grabbed his leg again, her body trembling violently. It was hard to imagine how much torment a little girl must have suffered to be frightened like this just by hearing their voices. Big brother is here. No one can bully you anymore. Duan Lingtian picked up the little girl and held her in his arms. At the same time, he began to examine the people blocking him from the front and back. The person in front of him was a middle-aged man in blue clothes, and beside him stood a Qiushan city guard. Behind him, besides an ugly, short middle-aged man, also stood a Qiushan city guard. Kid, how dare you kidnap my daughter? With the city guard here, let's see how you die. The blue-clothed middle-aged man glared with his ugly triangular eyes and shouted at Duan Lingtian. My lord, you must seek justice for us. My brother and sister-in-law only have this one child. The ugly, short middle-aged man said to the Qiushan city guard beside him. It's late at night. It's not convenient for us to disturb our brothers guarding the dungeon. You two see if you can settle this privately with him. If he's unwilling, we'll lock him in the dungeon. One of the Qiushan city guards said. Trafficker, you're lucky. If we didn't want to avoid disturbing the brothers at the dungeon, you'd be rotting in jail. The other Qiushan city guard said. Big brother, they are fakes. They are all together. They are all bad people. They are all bad people. The little girl was leaning on Duan Lingtian's shoulder, her voice trembling as she spoke to him. Actually, as soon as the first person dressed as a Qiushan city guard spoke, Duan Lingtian knew he was a fake. Although he hadn't been in Qiushan City for long, he had heard that the city's military discipline was strict, and it was impossible for such scum to exist. You little brat, do you want to die? Although the little girl's voice wasn't loud, it was exceptionally clear in the quiet street. The 4 people surrounding Duan Lingtian heard it, and their expressions changed. They played the honey trap, scam mostly to extort some saint stones. Unless necessary, they rarely killed. Because this was Qiushan City, once they killed someone, they wouldn't be able to stay here. The Qiushan city lord's mansion would view it as a desecration of the city's majesty and would hunt them down even if they had to dig 3 feet into the ground. However, now that the little girl had exposed them, they couldn't care less. They each took out their weapons, 4 human-rank, low-grade sacred artifacts. Since when do petty thieves who haven't even stepped into the transcendent realm dare to kill people in Qiushan City? Duan Lingtian's sharp eyes swept over the 4 of them as he sneered. When the 4 first appeared, he had used heavenly eye vision to probe their cultivation. They were all only at the innate void prying stage. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's purple clothes billowed, and the aura of a transcendent realm powerhouse swept out. Hey, a transcendent realm powerhouse. Immediately, the 4's expressions changed drastically, realizing they had kicked a steel plate. Speak, where did you kidnap her from? Duan Lingtian looked at the 4. His already sharp gaze became even sharper, as if it could pierce through everything. The 4 seemed to realize it was impossible to escape from Duan Lingtian and knelt on the ground together to beg for mercy. My lord, spare us. We bought her from someone else. We don't know where she's from either. My lord, spare us. My lord, spare us. The 4 knelt on the ground, their bodies trembling as they continuously begged for mercy. Bought from someone else. Where's that person? Duan Lingtian asked. We don't know him. He was just passing through Qiushan City. We don't know where he came from or where he was going. The triangular-eyed middle-aged man said with a trembling voice, "What is your name?" Duan Lingtian looked at the little girl in his arms and asked softly, Sure. Perhaps seeing that Duan Lingtian had subdued the four, the little girl was no longer afraid. She rolled her large, soulful eyes and looked at Duan Lingtian with admiration. "Big brother, you're so amazing. Can Sure learn skills from you? If I learn skills from you, Sure won't be afraid of bad people anymore. Bad people won't dare to hit Sure." The little girl, Sure, said with a face full of seriousness. Duan Lingtian clearly noticed that as the little girl finished speaking, the four guys kneeling on the ground trembled imperceptibly. Duan Lingtian pulled back the little girl's tattered clothes and could see that her arms and legs were covered in dark red bruises, all of which were fresh. Sure, tell Big Brother, do they hit you often?" Duan Lingtian tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart and asked softly, "Little ancestor, spare us. Little ancestor, spare us." At this moment, the four kneeling on the ground panicked completely. They were shrewd people and could hear the hidden killing intent in Duan Lingtian's tone. The little girl nodded. Sure didn't listen to them. Sure didn't want to lie. So they hit Sure to make Sure lie. Sure isn't a bad child. Sure doesn't want to lie. Big Brother knows Sure is a good child. Sure, Big Brother will play a game with you. In a moment, no matter what sound you hear, don't open your eyes unless Big Brother tells you to, okay? Duan Lingtian looked at the little girl with a smile. Okay. The little girl nodded obediently and closed her eyes. Almost the instant the little girl closed her eyes, Duan Lingtian's suppressed anger erupted completely. With a lift of his foot, his true chi raged, sweeping out towards the four pieces of trash kneeling on the ground. With just one kick, the four scumbags didn't even have a chance to beg for mercy. Their bodies exploded, staining the path with blood. Roar! Not long after the four scumbags were killed by Duan Lingtian, a beast's roar came from ahead on the street. The sound grew closer and closer, entering the street in the blink of an eye. "Who is it? How dare you kill someone in Xioshan City?" A moment later, a young man in armor standing on the back of a savage beast arrived majestically on his mount, stopping not far from Duan Lingtian. Behind him, 8 others also in armor followed closely. With one look, Duan Lingtian recognized that these people were the Xioshan City guards. Rumor has it that among the Xioshan City Guard, 5 captains are beast tamers. I wonder which one your excellency is. Duan Lingtian looked at the young man on the savage beast and asked, "Hongyu?" The young man standing on the back of the savage beast looked directly at Duan Lingtian and asked coldly, "And who are you? Why have you killed in Xioshan City? Do you not know the rules of Xioshan City?" "Captain, for people are dead. 2 of them were wearing our city guard armor. Upon verification, they are all fakes." Soon, a city guard soldier finished inspecting the scene and reported to Hongyu. Forging city guard armor is a capital offense. Hongyu's gaze was cold as he looked at Duan Lingtian. "How do you explain the other 2? Captain Hong, is this savage beast you've tamed a blood-eyed jackal?" Duan Lingtian's gaze fell upon the savage beast beneath Hongyu's feet, which was pitch black with crimson pupils and closely resembled a jackal. Rumor has it that the blood-eyed jackal has a special sensitivity to the scent of blood and can react immediately even from a great distance. Seeing it today, it truly lives up to its reputation. Just as Hongyu's face darkened and he became somewhat impatient, Duan Lingtian took out the medallion given to him by the Heavenly Injury Guard and tossed it to Hongyu, saying, "I'm one of you." Hongyu caught the medallion, focused his gaze on it, and couldn't help but exclaim, "Hidden Dragon Camp! Hidden Dragon Camp!" Following Hongyu's exclamation, the 8 city guard soldiers looked at Duan Lingtian, their eyes filled with a touch of fervor. In Xioshan City, the Hidden Dragon Camp is known to everyone. Everyone knows that those who come from the Hidden Dragon Camp, no matter how poorly they fare, are still big shots to them. Although your excellency is from the Hidden Dragon Camp, the ban on killing in Xioshan City was an order personally issued by the city lord. Of the 4 you killed, 2 forged city guard armor and deserve to die. As for the other 2, please give me an explanation. After returning the medallion to Duan Lingtian, Hongyu's expression softened slightly. "Captain Hong, can we talk somewhere else?" Duan Lingtian gestured towards the little girl in his arms and said to Hongyu. Hongyu nodded. He believed that the people from the Hidden Dragon Camp definitely knew the rules of Mount Xiu City and would never kill anyone without cause within the city. "Our team just finished our shift and we're heading back." You can come with us to the city guard camp to talk, Hong Yu said. Duan Ling Tian nodded, not refusing. Clean this up and return to camp. With Hong Yu's command, the 8 city guard soldiers immediately got to work, clearing the traces from the scene, and then followed Hong Yu, who was riding a savage beast in a neat formation. Along the way, Duan Ling Tian curiously observed the savage beast under Hong Yu's feet, the one Hong Yu had tamed. After arriving at the hidden dragon camp of the Mount Xiu City Lord's mansion, he learned about the existence of beast tamers. Beast tamers are a very special existence in the Dao martial saintland. Besides their own strength, they also rely on the assistance of savage beasts in battle. In a confrontation between martial cultivators and Dao cultivators of the same level, beast tamers have a much higher chance of winning. In the Dao martial saintland, everyone wants to become a beast tamer, leading a formidable savage beast to wreak havoc. However, imagination is beautiful, but reality is cruel. To become a beast tamer, one must possess beast tamer talent. Those with beast tamer talent are 1 in 10,000. However, heaven is fair. Among those with beast tamer talent, about 40% have extremely poor martial arts talent, 30% have average martial arts talent, 20% have decent martial arts talent, and less than 1% have exceptional martial arts talent. Beast tamers with exceptional martial arts talent, once they grow up, are almost all extremely terrifying existences. This is simply because the stronger a beast tamer's own strength, the stronger the savage beasts they can tame. Furthermore, they can train savage beasts to be in perfect sync with them, cooperating seamlessly. One person and one beast, sweeping through everything. Invincible, savage beasts lack human intelligence, possessing only the instinct for survival. Any savage beast tamed by a beast tamer will never betray the beast tamer in their lifetime. They have no selfish motives and are willing to die for their beast tamer. Unconsciously, Duan Ling Tian followed Hong Yu and his team to the city guard camp. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian said to the little girl in his arms, Sure, you can open your eyes now. Immediately, the little girl opened her bright, clear eyes, looking around like a curious baby. Brother, what is this place? Are those 4 bad guys dead? This is the Mount Xiu City Guard camp. No one can bully you here, Duan Ling Tian said with a doting expression. The little girl nodded. Late at night, in the spacious tent, Hong Yu sat at the head. The 8 city guard soldiers sat on either side, and Duan Ling Tian, with the little girl Sure, sat below Hong Yu. Under the gaze of Hong Yu and the 9 others, Duan Ling Tian recounted the entire story from beginning to end. Combined with the scars on the little girl's body, the evidence was conclusive. For a moment, Hong Yu and the 9 others also had red eyes. Scum, degenerates, animals, trash. Hong Yu and the 9 others were enraged, thoroughly enraged. They were soldiers of the city guard, men of iron and blood, who wouldn't even blink if a knife was held to their throats. Yet, upon hearing about the little girl Sure's plight, their eyes became moist. Brother, well done. I knew it. How could a brother from the Hidden Dragon Camp disregard the laws of Mount Xiu City? Brother, since you're from the Hidden Dragon Camp, how should I address you? Hong Yu took a deep breath, calming his agitated emotions, and looked at Duan Ling Tian, asking politely. Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. Duan Ling Tian. Who would have thought that as soon as Duan Ling Tian spoke, Hong Yu and the other 8 city guard soldiers were stunned, not uttering a sound for a long time, making the atmosphere in the tent somewhat strange. Only the little girl Sure, unaware of the abnormality, ran around the tent happily and innocently. What? Is there a flower on my face? Seeing Hong Yu and the 9 others staring intently at him, Duan Ling Tian was puzzled. Duan Ling Tian, are you the Duan Ling Tian who defeated Zhang Jilong, ranked 6th among the 13 protectors of the Hidden Dragon Camp? Hong Yu gasped. The other 9 city guard soldiers also stared at Duan Ling Tian as if they had seen a ghost. Earlier, they had only thought this purple-clad youth was an ordinary member of the Hidden Dragon Camp. They never expected him to be one of the 13 protectors of the Hidden Dragon Camp. And he was also that much-talked-about genius from the Hidden Dragon Camp, Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian joined the Hidden Dragon Camp nearly 4 months ago, and upon entering, he immediately became one of the 13 protectors. A month later, he defeated Zhang Jilong, who was ranked 6th among the 13 protectors, and took his place. Yes, it's me. Duan Ling Tian nodded. What? Is there a problem? Duan Ling Tian. Do you know, before you defeated Zhang Jilong, he was a famous genius in Mount Xiu City and its surrounding areas. He was known as invincible in the middle stage of the Transcendence Realm. Han Yu said, a hidden dragon camp member in the middle stage of the Transcendence Realm, that famous? Duan Ling Tian was surprised. He really didn't know that. However, ever since he was defeated by you, his reputation plummeted. His halo, with that defeat, completely transferred to you. Han Yu said with a smile. No wonder after I defeated him, he looked like he wanted to eat me whenever he saw me. Duan Ling Tian suddenly understood. Captain Hong, if you don't mind, how about we become sworn brothers? Duan Ling Tian found that after knowing his identity, Hong Yu was no longer as unrestrained as he was at first, and so he suggested to Hong Yu. Of course, he made this suggestion because he saw Hong Yu as an upright man, someone worth befriending, and he liked his straightforwardness. He and Hong Yu felt an immediate kinship. As soon as Duan Ling Tian said this, Hong Yu was stunned, and the 8 city guard soldiers under Hong Yu's command had their eyes shining. If their captain became sworn brothers with this Duan Ling Tian, a bright future would definitely be within reach, and they, too, would surely benefit from it. You are a genius from the Hidden Dragon Camp, and may even become one of the 36 personal guards of the City Lord's mansion in the future. I am just a mere captain of the City Guard. I'm afraid I'm not worthy of being your sworn brother, Hong Yu said with a bitter smile. Is Captain Hong saying this to make excuses to put me off? Duan Ling Tian said with some displeasure. I saw that Captain Hong is an upright and honest person, someone worth befriending, which is why I wanted to become friends with you. Now it seems I was wrong. After speaking, Duan Ling Tian stood up, preparing to leave with the little girl Sure. Brother Ling Tian, stop. Hong Yu quickly stood up as well. I absolutely have no intention of putting you off. What I said was from the bottom of my heart. Did Captain Hong just call me brother? Duan Ling Tian's stern face relaxed, a faint smile appearing. Hong Yu gave a bitter smile. He wasn't one to procrastinate, so he gritted his teeth and said, Brother Ling Tian, since you said you want us to be sworn brothers, you can't keep calling me Captain Hong, can you? Haha, Big Brother Hong. Duan Ling Tian laughed heartily, taking the initiative to call him Big Brother. As soon as he first saw Hong Yu, he had used his heavenly eye to observe him. Hong Yu was 45 years old and a beast tamer in the late stage of the Transcendence Realm. Congratulations, Captain. At this moment, Hong Yu's 8 subordinates smiled and congratulated him. You 8, go and prepare food and drinks quickly. Tonight, my brother and I will drink until we drop, Hong Yu ordered. Immediately, the 8 happily left the tent to prepare. For a moment, only Duan Ling Tian, Hong Yu, and the little girl Sure remained in the tent. Brother Ling Tian, you definitely won't find it convenient to take her back to the Hidden Dragon Camp. How about we temporarily foster her at my home? Your wife is usually at home taking care of the children anyway. One more child is just one more. What do you think? Hong Yu looked at the little girl Sure and suggested. Then I'll thank Big Brother Hong in advance. Duan Ling Tian quickly thanked Hong Yu, then sighed. This child is quite pitiful. However, from what she said, her family should still be alive. I just don't know if she still remembers where her home is. If she remembers, that would be for the best. She can go back and reunite with her family. If she doesn't remember, she can stay at my house, and I'll raise her as another daughter. Hong Yu said cheerfully. Raise her as a daughter? Big Brother Hong, you're taking advantage of me. She calls me brother. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and laughed. Then I'll raise her as a younger sister. My 2 kids can be her nephews. They're both younger than her anyway, Hong Yu said with a smile. That night, Duan Ling Tian and Hong Yu drank all night. Because he was happy, he didn't even use his true qi to expel the alcohol. As dawn approached, Duan Ling Tian woke up. As the sky began to lighten, Duan Ling Tian took the little girl Sure to find Hong Yu, preparing to hand the little girl over to him. However, the little girl was unwilling. I want brother. I just want brother. I only want brother. Sure, be good. Brother still has very important things to do. Can you stay at Big Brother Hong's house for now, okay? Big Brother Hong's house also has your 2 little nephews to play with you. Duan Ling Tian patiently persuaded her. Then you have to come see me often, brother. It must be said that the little girl was very sensible. After a brief fuss, she stopped. She possessed a maturity that did not belong to her age. This made Duan Ling Tian and Hong Yu even more heartbroken. After entrusting the little girl Sure to Hong Yu, Duan Ling Tian left the city guard camp and headed straight for the Pavilion of Wonders. The auction held at the Pavilion of Wonders today was scheduled for noon. Aside from those who received invitations, others needed to spend Saint Stones early in the morning to reserve seats and obtain seating passes. What? All gone. Duan Ling Tian had underestimated the enthusiasm of the people from all sides. When he arrived at the Pavilion of Wonders to reserve a seat, he was told that all the seats were taken. Just as Duan Ling Tian frowned, preparing to turn and leave. "Guest, please wait." A well-dressed middle-aged man rushed out, calling out to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian looked at the middle-aged man, a puzzled expression on his face. "Steward." At this moment, the staff member who had told Duan Ling Tian there were no seats respectfully bowed to the middle-aged man, his heart filled with both trepidation and resentment. He was apprehensive about Duan Ling Tian's identity. He resented Duan Ling Tian for not revealing his identity. "Are you blind? This is the pavilion master's guest." The middle-aged man glared at the staff member, causing the latter to quickly offer a placating smile to Duan Ling Tian. "Guest, I apologize. I didn't know you were the pavilion master's guest." "Guest, ignore him. Please follow me. The pavilion master is waiting for you." The middle-aged man looked at Duan Ling Tian, his face wreathed in smiles. "Pavilion master? The pavilion master of the rare treasures pavilion?" Duan Ling Tian was filled with doubt. Did the pavilion master of the rare treasures pavilion know him? With his doubts, Duan Ling Tian followed the middle-aged man to the top floor of the Rare Treasures Pavilion. The top floor of the Rare Treasures Pavilion was semi-open, bathed in the morning light. "Guest, the pavilion master is waiting for you outside." The middle-aged man glanced at the open-air balcony outside and said to Duan Ling Tian. After speaking, he turned and went downstairs. Duan Ling Tian stepped out and walked onto the open-air balcony. Upon entering, he saw a person standing with their back to him, by the railing of the balcony, bathed in the morning glow, looking out at the street. Of course, that wasn't the main point. The main point was that he found the back of the person somewhat familiar, as if he had seen it before. However, for a moment, he couldn't recall who it was. "You are." Approaching the figure, Duan Ling Tian stopped and asked, Duan Ling Tian, have you forgotten me, your savior, so quickly?" Accompanied by a hearty laugh, the owner of the figure turned around. It was indeed the middle-aged man dressed as a scholar, wearing a headscarf and holding a feather fan. "Lin, Senior Lin." Duan Ling Tian's eyes widened. You are the pavilion master of the Rare Treasures Pavilion." The middle-aged scholar standing before Duan Ling Tian was none other than Lin Qingrong, who had saved his life near Fuyu Island, and was also one of the 36 personal guards of the Qiushan City Lord's Mansion. The 9th Guard, Heavenly Hero Guard. Although Duan Ling Tian knew that the Rare Treasures Pavilion was an asset of the City Lord's Mansion, he never expected that its pavilion master would be this old acquaintance. "Don't be surprised. I only took office last month," Lin Qingrong said with a smile. He had indeed only taken office last month. Moreover, his appointment as the pavilion master of the Rare Treasures Pavilion was largely due to Duan Ling Tian. More precisely, it was for bringing a genius like Duan Ling Tian to the City Lord's Mansion. He became the pavilion master of the Rare Treasures Pavilion by direct appointment from their leader of the 36 personal guards, the Heavenly Kuei Guard. So, the reason why today's auction at the Rare Treasures Pavilion is auctioning 3 sets of Saint-grade martial arts is because of your 3 fires of a new official, Senior Lin? Duan Ling Tian asked. "Something like that. I saw you arrive earlier and knew you'd probably be interested in today's auction. Are you here for the Saint-grade martial arts?" Lin Qingrong asked. "I'm just here to join in the fun." Duan Ling Tian smiled. "I can't afford Saint-grade martial arts. I heard that the Saint-grade martial art you used when you defeated Li Han, and even Zhang Zhilong, was quite remarkable." Lin Qingrong looked deeply at Duan Ling Tian and said with a smile. Duan Ling Tian gave an awkward smile. "Senior Lin, are the Saint Scrolls containing the Saint-grade martial arts being auctioned today in your possession?" Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. In his opinion, the Saint Scrolls containing Saint-grade martial arts were extremely important. Logically, they should be in the hands of Lin Qingrong, the pavilion master of the Rare Treasures Pavilion. And if they were in Lin Qingrong's hands, he might have a chance to borrow them and take a look. That's right. Under Duan Ling Tian's expectant gaze, Lin Qingrong nodded. With a raise of his hand, 3 Saint Scrolls appeared in his grasp. "What? You want to see them? I'd like to experience them," Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. "Actually, 10 days later, when the City Lord comes out of seclusion, if you achieve certain results in the test he sets up, you can earn quite a few merit points. Lin Xingrong said, with merit points, you can borrow and read the Saint Grade Martial Arts within the City Lord's Mansion. The Saint Grade Martial Arts in the City Lord's Mansion are much better than the ones I have. As Lin Xingrong spoke, he handed the 3 Saint Scrolls in his hand to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian took the Saint Scrolls and infused his spiritual energy into each one. Instantly, 3 vast streams of information surged into his mind, as if taking root and sprouting there. The 3 Saint Scrolls you hold contain low-grade human-tier Saint Grade Martial Arts. Among these 3 sets of Saint Grade Martial Arts, only one defensive move, Bronze Cloth Shirt, which is shared by 2 of them, is quite good. You can focus on that one, Lin Xingrong said. Upon hearing this, Duan Ling Tian began to sort through the 3 vast streams of information in his mind. Finally, he discovered that among the 2 streams of information originating from 2 different Saint Scrolls, 2 small streams of information were identical. These 2 small streams of information recorded the same defensive move, precisely the Bronze Cloth Shirt that Lin Xingrong had mentioned. The Bronze Cloth Shirt is a defensive move that integrates true qi into the flesh and blood, and even covers the skin with true qi. When cultivated to the extreme, the true qi enters the body, making it like an impenetrable fortress. This defensive cultivation method is very suitable for my body. Duan Ling Tian's heart was stirred. His body was already extremely powerful, even stronger than the main body of a 5-clawed divine dragon at the same level. If he could cultivate this Bronze Cloth Shirt, with true qi entering his body, his physical strength would become even greater. Senior Lin, how can 2 completely different Saint Grade martial arts have the exact same move? Duan Ling Tian was utterly puzzled by this. At this point, he also returned the 3 Saint Scrolls to Lin Xingrong. For him, the 3 Saint Scrolls no longer held any value, because he had already engraved all the contents of the 3 Saint Scrolls into his mind, unable to forget them even if he wanted to. Moreover, I found that this move is also present in the Saint Grade martial art I am currently cultivating. Duan Ling Tian added. He had already decided to cultivate the Bronze Cloth Shirt, and to avoid any complications, he began to pave the way for himself, letting Lin Xingrong know that the Saint Grade martial art he cultivated also contained the Bronze Cloth Shirt. The Saint Grade martial art you cultivate also has the Bronze Cloth Shirt. Lin Xingrong was a little surprised, and at the same time, he shook his head with a smile. I even recommended it to you earlier. However, it's not uncommon for the same move to appear in multiple Saint Grade martial arts. Of course, this situation only exists among human-tier Saint Grade martial arts. Among them, it is most common in low-grade human-tier Saint Grade martial arts. Lin Xingrong said, for example, the Bronze Cloth Shirt is the most widely circulated defensive move among low-grade human-tier Saint Grade martial arts. If 100 people cultivating different low-grade human-tier Saint Grade martial arts gather together, at least 10 of them will have cultivated the Bronze Cloth Shirt. So that's how it is. Duan Ling Tian nodded. However, your luck is truly excellent, Lin Xingrong said with a smile. Duan Ling Tian was a bit confused, a blank expression on his face. Senior Lin, what do you mean by excellent luck? In our City Lord's Mansion, there is a mid-grade human-tier Saint Grade martial art. It contains an upgraded version of the defensive move Bronze Cloth Shirt, called the Silver Cloth Shirt. Lin Xingrong said, Silver Cloth Shirt? Duan Ling Tian was startled. Yes, it's the Silver Cloth Shirt. Lin Xingrong nodded. Although both the Silver Cloth Shirt and the Bronze Cloth Shirt are divided into 5 realms, their effects are entirely different. A proficient Silver Cloth Shirt can rival a mastered Bronze Cloth Shirt. Duan Ling Tian nodded. He could understand that. After all, they belong to different tiers. One belonged to mid-grade human-tier Saint Grade martial arts, and the other to low-grade human-tier Saint Grade martial arts. However, if you cultivate the Bronze Cloth Shirt to mastery, and then switch to cultivating the Silver Cloth Shirt, you can directly transition to a proficient Silver Cloth Shirt. Lin Xingrong added, the realms of moves within Saint Grade martial arts are divided into 5 levels. Initial glimpse, minor accomplishment, proficient, skilled, and mastered. The Bronze Cloth Shirt, when cultivated to mastery, is already at its limit and cannot progress further. But the Silver Cloth Shirt is different. A mastered Bronze Cloth Shirt is only equivalent to a proficient Silver Cloth Shirt. After the transformation, the upper limit increases, and it can still be improved by 2 more realms. The effects are incomparable. Now, do you understand what I mean? Lin Qingrong asked. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Lin Qingrong's words were very clear. He was implying that Duan Ling Tian could focus on cultivating the bronze cloth shirt, and no matter how much effort he put into it, it wouldn't be wasted. Because, after the bronze cloth shirt is cultivated to its extreme, it can still be transformed into the silver cloth shirt. Moreover, with the bronze cloth shirt as a foundation, cultivating the silver cloth shirt wouldn't require starting from scratch. He could begin cultivating it directly from an intermediate stage. All right, I should go prepare for the auction now. Lin Qingrong looked up at the sky and said to Duan Ling Tian, for today's auction, I'll arrange a private room for you. At that time, besides these 3 sets of Saint-grade martial arts, you can bid on any one auction item, and I'll pay for it. Only one item? Duan Ling Tian chuckled. Senior Lin, aren't you being a bit stingy? Then 2 items, no more than that. Lin Qingrong said exasperatedly. Before the auction began, under Lin Qingrong's arrangement, Duan Ling Tian took a seat in a private room on the 2nd floor. From the window of the private room, he could see the entire auction stage. I hope there's something I'm interested in. If there are 2, that would be even better. Duan Ling Tian murmured to himself. While the auction hadn't started yet, Duan Ling Tian began to organize the information of the defensive move bronze cloth shirt, and at the same time, he activated his true qi, circulating it according to the path of the bronze cloth shirt. At first, Duan Ling Tian had wondered if it was worth spending time on a move like bronze cloth shirt, which belonged to a low-grade human-tier saint-grade martial art. After hearing Lin Qingrong say that the City Lord's mansion had a mid-grade human-tier martial art containing an upgraded version of the bronze cloth shirt, the silver cloth shirt, Duan Ling Tian felt relieved and decided to seriously cultivate the bronze cloth shirt. When the copper cloth shirt is successfully cultivated, once activated, the skin all over the body will glow with a faint bronze luster, as if wearing a copper cloth shirt. Huh? Why is this copper cloth shirt so easy to cultivate successfully? Duan Ling Tian discovered. His true qi, flowing through the 32 saint veins, spread throughout his body at an incredibly fast speed. Moreover, he also found that after the true qi circulated just once, covering his entire body, the copper cloth shirt successfully reached the initial glimpse realm. This is too exaggerated, isn't it? Duan Ling Tian was dumbfounded. What exactly is going on? Unable to comprehend, Duan Ling Tian could only search for the reason himself and continued to cultivate the defensive skill copper cloth shirt. However, when the true qi circulated a second time, the copper cloth shirt did not break through again. Nevertheless, the progress was still evident. After several attempts, Duan Ling Tian finally discovered the problem. So that's it. This copper cloth shirt is practically tailor-made for me. It turned out that for cultivating the defensive skill copper cloth shirt, the higher the martial artist's physical fitness and the more saint veins they possessed, the faster their cultivation speed. And Duan Ling Tian's physical fitness was even stronger than that of a 5-clawed divine dragon in its true form. As for saint veins, there was even less to say. At the mid-stage of the mortal shedding realm, he had opened 32 saint veins. While some mortal shedding realm great perfection cultivators with poorer talent might not even have 32 saint veins opened in their bodies. A body stronger than a 5-clawed divine dragon's true form, coupled with 32 saint veins, destined Duan Ling Tian's cultivation speed for the copper cloth shirt to be incredibly exaggerated. It was precisely because of this that Duan Ling Tian said the copper cloth shirt seemed tailor-made for him. At this cultivation speed, even cultivating the copper cloth shirt to its highest realm, peak of perfection, shouldn't take much time. Duan Ling Tian was a little excited. Unbeknownst to him, the auction had already begun, and it wasn't until the sounds from outside reached him that Duan Ling Tian came back to his senses and stopped cultivating the defensive skill copper cloth shirt. Looking towards the auction stage through the window, Duan Ling Tian could see a middle-aged man standing on it. Duan Ling Tian was not unfamiliar with this middle-aged man. He was the one who had taken him to see the pavilion master of the treasure-gathering pavilion, Lin Qingrong, this morning, and seemed to be a steward of the treasure-gathering pavilion. Currently, the middle-aged man was warming up the atmosphere of the auction, gradually stirring up excitement with his words. Soon, the auction began. The first item up for auction was a human-rank mid-grade saint weapon, a 3-foot-long green sword. Human rank mid-grade saint weapon? Does your treasure-gathering pavilion have nothing else? A human rank mid-grade saint weapon, and a sword at that. Chu Mountain City has at least 10 shops where you can buy one. We came to your treasure-gathering pavilion to bid for treasures, not for things you can buy everywhere. Do you really take us for fools? The appearance of the first auction item immediately caused dissatisfaction among many people. They simply thought that this auction item was a human rank mid-grade saint weapon, something that could be bought everywhere. Such an item appearing in the treasure-gathering pavilion left people speechless. Is there something different about this human rank mid-grade saint weapon? Duan Ling Tian looked puzzled. He always felt that since Lin Qingrong had just taken office as the pavilion master of this treasure-gathering pavilion, he shouldn't, in theory, put out common goods to tarnish his own reputation. Facts proved that Duan Ling Tian was right. This human rank mid-grade saint weapon was indeed not simple. On the auction stage, facing the public outcry, the steward of the treasure-gathering pavilion, who was hosting the auction, maintained a smile throughout, as if he didn't take anyone's words to heart. It wasn't until most of the voices on the scene died down that he cleared his throat and slowly spoke. Everyone, our treasure-gathering pavilion will not tarnish its own reputation. Although this first auction item is a human rank mid-grade saint weapon, it has a special feature. As soon as the treasure-gathering pavilion steward said this, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. On this human rank mid-grade saint weapon, there is a saint inscription carved by a saint inscription master. Facing curious gazes, the treasure-gathering pavilion steward said, "Saint inscription master, saint inscription." Immediately, there was an uproar in the venue. I was just wondering, why would the treasure-gathering pavilion put an ordinary human rank mid-grade saint weapon up for auction? So it's a saint weapon with a saint inscription carved on it. The treasure-gathering pavilion is so sincere. This first auction item is actually a saint weapon with a saint inscription carved on it. Many people who had been mocking the treasure-gathering pavilion earlier now changed their tune and praised it. A saint weapon with a saint inscription carved on it. Inside the private room, Duan Ling Tian's eyes also lit up. He was still somewhat curious about the saint inscription masters of the Dao Martial Saint Land, because when he was on Cloud Continent, he was an inscription master. Inscriptions and saint inscriptions seemed to have a similar magical effect. He just didn't know if there was a connection between the two. If there is, perhaps I can also become a saint inscription master. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. I wonder, what kind of saint inscription is carved on this human rank mid-grade saint weapon? Duan Ling Tian observed the sword in the treasure-gathering pavilion steward's hand, his heart full of curiosity. At the same time, many people also began to inquire about the saint inscription on the sword. Knowing what saint inscription was on it would make it easier for them to bid. Everyone, the human rank mid-grade saint sword in my hand has a sunflower saint inscription carved on it. When true qi is infused into it, the sword will transform into a blazing sun for a short period, dazzling the opponent. The treasure-gathering pavilion steward added later. Of course, the sunflower saint inscription only targets the opponent and will not affect the activator or other people around. Immediately, the entire auction house erupted. The sunflower saint inscription, if used at a critical moment, would be enough to temporarily blind the opponent. In that instant, the opponent would be a lamb to the slaughter. Inscriptions also have similar ones. However, once activated, they affect everyone. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. From this perspective, compared to inscriptions, saint inscriptions were much more advanced and much more user-friendly. It seems everyone is very interested in the saint sword in my hand. In that case, let the bidding begin. As the atmosphere in the auction house was bustling and fervent, the treasure-gathering pavilion steward slowly spoke. As everyone knows, an ordinary human rank mid-grade saint weapon is worth approximately 1,000 grade 8 saint stones. To show our gratitude for everyone's strong support for our treasure-gathering pavilion, the starting bid for this human rank mid-grade saint sword with the sunflower saint inscription carved on it is also 1,000 grade 8 saint stones. Each bid increment must not be less than 1,000 grade 8 saint stones. The treasure-gathering pavilion steward's voice, imbued with true qi, spread throughout the entire auction house and into every private room. Repay support, starting price of 1,000 grade 8 saint stones. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled, thinking that what the treasure-gathering pavilion steward said was all nonsense. For good items, even if the starting price was 1 grade 9 saint stone, the final price would still be driven up. 1,000 grade 8 Saint Stones. As soon as the treasure-gathering pavilion steward finished speaking, someone made a bid. 2,000 grade 8 Saint Stones. Someone else followed with a bid. 10,000 grade 8 Saint Stones. And just after 2 bids were made in the auction house, a clear voice came from a private room, directly bidding 10,000 grade 8 Saint Stones. Should I bid for it to play around? Thinking of Lin Qingrong's promise, Duan Ling Tian was eager to try. However, he eventually dismissed the idea. Forget it. I don't use a sword right now, and perhaps there will be something I want later. Lin Qingrong only promised to give him 2 auction items. Of course, these were auction items other than the 3 sets of human rank low-grade Saint grade martial arts. The 3 sets of Saint grade martial arts, without any doubt, were destined to fetch sky-high prices. 30,000 grade 8 Saint Stones. By the time Duan Ling Tian came back to his senses, the human rank mid-grade Saint sword with the Sinflar Saint inscription carved on it had already been bid up to 30,000 grade 8 Saint Stones. And this price became the final transaction price. A human rank mid-grade Saint weapon with 1 Saint inscription. Is it 29,000 Saint Stones more expensive than an identical human rank mid-grade Saint weapon without a Saint inscription? Duan Ling Tian's eyes widened. That Saint inscription master made too much money, didn't he? 1 Saint inscription, worth 29,000 Saint Stones? Duan Ling Tian, however, did not know. The main reason this sword could fetch such a high price was its rarity. There were almost no Saint inscription masters in the area around Chu Mountain City. If it were in another large place, where Saint inscription masters were abundant, it would simply not fetch such a price. The principle of rarity making things valuable applies here. However, compared to Saint refiners who focused on refining artifacts and pills, Saint inscription masters and Dao talisman masters indeed made more money. The reason for this was that the threshold for Saint refiners was low, and their numbers were large. Immediately after, the steward of the treasure-gathering pavilion brought out the second auction item. The second auction item was a Dao talisman that could instantly kill anyone below the mortal shedding realm. Of course, this was a single-target offensive Dao talisman, capable of killing only 1 person. However, it also had an effect on mortal shedding realm martial artists. It could severely injure early-stage mortal shedding realm martial cultivators and Dao cultivators, and lightly injure mid-stage mortal shedding realm martial cultivators and Dao cultivators. It was useless against late-stage mortal shedding realm martial cultivators and Dao cultivators and above. If it were Duan Ling Tian from Cloud Continent in the past, he might have been interested in this Dao talisman, but the current Duan Ling Tian had no interest in it whatsoever. He could also instantly kill anyone below the mortal shedding realm. Not only that, even early-stage and mid-stage mortal shedding realm cultivators, he could still instantly kill. As for late-stage mortal shedding realm cultivators, as long as they weren't at the peak of the late-stage mortal shedding realm, he was confident he could kill them within 3 moves. If I can cultivate the copper cloth shirt to peak of perfection, even a peak late-stage mortal shedding realm cultivator, I could easily kill. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. To Duan Ling Tian's surprise, even this Dao talisman that he didn't think much of eventually sold for over 20,000 grade 8 Saint Stones. What a waste. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but click his tongue. Following that, item after item was brought to the stage. However, Duan Ling Tian had no interest in any of them. It wasn't until the 17th auction item was brought out that Old Hua's voice reached Duan Ling Tian's ears. Bid for it. Elder Hua's voice came, invigorating Duan Ling Tian. Something good. This was the first thought that rose in Duan Ling Tian's mind. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian looked out the window, his gaze falling on the manager of the treasure pavilion on the auction stage. In the manager's hand was a round bead. This was a black bead with complex patterns. Duan Ling Tian looked at it, and in an instant, he felt his eyes ache, accompanied by a dizzy spell. Inside this black bead, there seemed to be some kind of magic. When Duan Ling Tian looked at it, it was as if it transformed into a bottomless abyss, seemingly wanting to devour Duan Ling Tian's soul. If he could, Duan Ling Tian truly didn't want to experience that feeling a second time. So, he retracted his gaze and stopped looking. What kind of bead is this? Heavens, I just glanced at it, and it felt like my soul was being drawn in. This bead is extraordinary. Meanwhile, there was a flurry of whispers in the auction hall. Most people spoke with a hint of apprehension. Evidently, Their experience was the same as Duan Lingtian's. Everyone, this black bead was obtained by our new pavilion master, Lord Lin Qingrong, by chance years ago. As you may have noticed, if you intentionally look at it, you will experience extreme discomfort. On the auction stage, the manager of the treasure pavilion spoke. What use does this bead have? Someone asked. This bead was acquired by our pavilion master 10 years ago. To this day, besides knowing that it causes discomfort to those who look at it, no other special properties have been discovered. The manager of the treasure pavilion continued. However, our pavilion master once asked our great city lord of Qiushan City to examine this bead. Even the city lord couldn't damage it in the slightest. Whoosh! As soon as the manager of the treasure pavilion said this, the entire hall erupted in an uproar. Those present were either from Qiushan City or from the surrounding areas of Qiushan City. They might not have met the city lord of Qiushan City, but they knew that the city lord of Qiushan City was the #1 expert in the area surrounding Qiushan City. Even the city lord couldn't damage it in the slightest. It seems it's really hard. Many people exclaimed in surprise. However, besides being hard, it seems it can only make those who look at it feel uncomfortable. This thing isn't practical. Someone else said this. Not just impractical. Whoever buys this thing will inevitably look at it a few times. I just looked at it once, and that feeling was too unbearable. That's right. I don't dare to look at it again now. Buying it would be nothing but self-inflicted torment, wouldn't it? Many people said with apprehension. Inside the private room, Duan Lingtian, having retracted his gaze, couldn't help but ask Elder Hua. Elder Hua, you want me to bid for it? Does it have any special qualities? That is the eye of a one-eyed demonic vulture. If you can refine it, your eyes will inherit the abilities of the one-eyed demonic vulture. For you right now, it will be of great help. Elder Hua said, One-eyed demonic vulture? What is that? Duan Lingtian was startled. It's a powerful demonic beast, and its numbers are extremely rare. Not even Yin Huangstar has them. I didn't expect to find the eye of a one-eyed demonic vulture on this planet. Elder Hua said, Is there anything special about its eye? Duan Lingtian asked again. Of course, the one-eyed demonic vulture is powerful precisely because of its unique eye. Its eye possesses extremely terrifying abilities. As for what abilities, you'll know once you refine it later. Elder Hua added, The most urgent task is to bid for it first. Elder Hua, are you sure I can refine it? I heard the manager of this treasure pavilion say, even a Saint Entry Realm expert couldn't damage it in the slightest. Recalling the words of the treasure pavilion manager, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but ask, You naturally can't refine it now? However, with the help of my Sun Divine Flame, refining it will be effortless for you. Elder Hua said. Hearing Elder Hua's words, Duan Lingtian took a deep breath, no longer hesitating, and looked out the window. At this moment, several people had already placed bids. 3,000 8th grade Saint Stones. As soon as this price was announced, the others immediately fell silent. Evidently, most people weren't interested in the eye of the one-eyed demonic vulture. Of course, they didn't know it was the eye of a one-eyed demonic vulture, only thinking it was a strange bead. The guest in private room number 4 has bid 3,000 8th grade Saint Stones. Are there any other guests who wish to increase the bid? If not, I will begin the countdown. On the auction stage, the manager of the treasure pavilion said unhurriedly, 3. Soon, he began counting down. 2. He counted down again. Just as he was about to say 1, Duan Lingtian spoke. 5,000 8th grade Saint Stones. 5,000 8th grade Saint Stones. As soon as Duan Lingtian said this, the manager of the treasure pavilion smiled and closed his freshly opened mouth, saying with some excitement, The guest in private room number 1 has bid 5,000 8th grade Saint Stones. 5,000 8th grade Saint Stones. Are there any other guests who wish to increase the bid? The manager of the treasure pavilion asked 3 more times, but no one offered another bid. Good lad, others bid 3,000, and he directly raised it to 5,000. He really doesn't feel bad when it's not his own Saint Stones. Inside private room number 2, Lin Qingrong couldn't help but laugh and scold. However, he was just making a casual remark. The strange bead being auctioned now was originally his personal item. No matter how many Saint Stones it sold for, those Saint Stones would eventually go into his pocket. Therefore, no matter how high Duan Lingtian's bid was, it wouldn't affect him. A strange, broken bead. 3,000 8th grade Saint Stones for collection is already an exorbitant price. Whoever wants it can have it. A soft snort came from private room number 4. Private room number 4 was where the person who bid 3,000 8th grade Saint Stones before Duan Lingtian's bid was located. The words of the owner of private room number 4 made many people in the auction hall agree deeply. Buying such a bead for 5,000 8th grade Saint Stones is too extravagant. Even if I had a fortune of 100,000 8th grade Saint Stones, I wouldn't be willing to spend it like that. Even if this bead is bought for collection, one still has to suffer. This broken bead. I'd have to consider whether I'd even want it if it were given to me. A group of people discussed animatedly, treating Duan Lingtian in private room number 1 as a sucker in their words. Duan Lingtian, however, didn't care about this at all. These people thought he was a fool, but in his opinion, they were the fools who didn't recognize good merchandise. Who was Elder Hua? A three-legged golden crow, an ancient exotic beast. With Elder Hua's experience, how discerning must his eye be? Could something highly praised by Elder Hua be ordinary? Now, Duan Lingtian was somewhat looking forward to the benefits that the eye of that one-eyed demonic vulture would bring him. He believed it would definitely be a great benefit. As the manager of the treasure pavilion counted down 3 times, the one-eyed demonic vulture's eye smoothly became Duan Lingtian's possession. Before long, someone delivered the one-eyed demonic vulture's eye to his door. Perhaps Lin Xingrong had given instructions beforehand. The young attendant who delivered the item did not ask Duan Lingtian for Saint Stones. After delivering the item, he left. Elder Hua, how do I refine this? Duan Lingtian twirled the bead in his hand, looking up and asking. If he could, he didn't want to look at the bead in his hand again, because he didn't want to try that feeling of his soul being drawn away again. Let's wait until the auction ends, Elder Hua said. Elder Hua's words were clear. He would explain in detail to Duan Lingtian after the auction concluded. Understood. Duan Lingtian nodded. Although he was eager, since Elder Hua had spoken, he naturally didn't insist further. After putting away the bead in his hand, Duan Lingtian thought to himself, if Elder Hua hadn't reminded me, I would never have known that it was actually an eyeball, the eyeball of a one-eyed demonic vulture. After Duan Lingtian successfully bid for the one-eyed demonic vulture's eyeball, the auction continued. Auction items were brought onto the stage one by one and taken away by various bidders. After 27 items had been auctioned, it was finally time for the last 3 highlight items of the day, 3 sets of low-grade human-tier, saint-grade martial arts. It is worth mentioning that before this, Duan Lingtian had also successfully bid for another item. That item was one of the advanced materials needed to repair the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda, which Elder Hua had mentioned. Although its effect was slightly inferior to the 5-clawed divine dragon's dragon pearl, the difference wasn't significant. According to Elder Hua, this material, used to repair the 3rd layer of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda, could repair 10%. At the same time, the auction hall completely erupted due to the appearance of the saint-grade martial arts. The frantic bidding made Duan Lingtian click his tongue in amazement. Soon, the first set of saint-grade martial arts was sold for the exorbitant price of 200,000 8th grade Saint Stones. No wonder Senior Lin said that besides these 3 sets of saint-grade martial arts, he would give me auction items. If I had bid for one of these, even if it was just one, he would probably want to die. Duan Lingtian thought to himself, 200,000 8th grade Saint Stones, if converted to 5th grade Saint Stones, would be a full 200. Which is nearly a quarter of the 5th grade Saint Stones Duan Lingtian possessed. Elder Hua, what's different about the 3rd layer of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda compared to the 2nd layer? While others were bidding for the 2nd set of saint-grade martial arts, Duan Lingtian's heart stirred, and he asked Elder Hua, the 3rd layer of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda contains the immortal family's supreme treasure, shocking divine halberd. Besides that, the heaven and earth spiritual chi inside is even denser. Also, the flow of time inside is even slower. Elder Hua slowly said, how much slower? Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up. Because of the immortal family supreme treasure Gui Xian's sword. In the 2nd layer of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda, Duan Lingtian had no interest in the immortal family supreme treasure, shocking divine halberd, in the 3rd layer. What was the use of being interested in something he couldn't even pick up? What he cared about more was the heaven and earth spiritual chi inside, as that was related to his cultivation environment. Of course, the most important thing was the time flow rate. 5 days inside, 1 day outside. Elder Hua said, 5 days inside, 1 day outside. Hearing Elder Hua's words, Duan Lingtian's breathing grew rapid. One must know that the time ratio for the first layer of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda was only 2-1, and the second layer was only 3-1. But now, the ratio for the third layer of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda between the time inside and outside had actually reached 5-1. In other words, if I cultivate inside for 5 months, only 1 month will pass outside. If I cultivate inside for a year, only 2 months and 10 days will pass outside. Thinking of this, Duan Lingtian's heart surged with excitement. However, he soon seemed to remember something and snapped back to reality. Repairing the third layer of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda is even more difficult than the second layer. Even if Elder Hui uses the materials I just bid for, it will only be 10% repaired. As if doused by a bucket of cold water, Duan Lingtian shuddered and calmed down. To fully repair the third layer of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda seems very distant for now. However, despite the distance, Duan Lingtian made up his mind. I must repair the third layer of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. The time flow of the third layer of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda is a qualitative leap compared to the second layer. Moreover, once the third layer is repaired, I can start working on the fourth layer of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. Duan Lingtian had always kept the fourth layer of the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda in mind. According to Elder Hua, as long as the fourth layer is repaired, the space inside the pagoda will become stable. At that time, no matter when or where, no matter what situation the pagoda encounters, even if it is spinning rapidly, the space inside will not be affected. At this thought, Duan Lingtian grew somewhat excited. That also means, no matter what danger I encounter, as long as I have the time to enter the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda with a single thought, I can escape with my life. An image involuntarily surfaced in Duan Lingtian's mind. A powerhouse who was countless times stronger than him. Someone who could crush him with a single finger. Just as they thought they could definitely kill him, he would vanish into the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. And the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda would turn into dust and merge with the earth. That powerhouse would be driven mad with rage, yet remain helpless, eventually forced to leave in disappointment. Materials to repair the Seven Treasures Exquisite Pagoda couldn't be found in the Yunshao continent or the overseas Holy Island, but they can definitely be found in the Dao Martial Holy Land. From today on, I will do my utmost to search for the materials needed to repair the third layer. Duan Lingtian resolved secretly. Perhaps, when I return to the Yunshao continent next time, I can take a look at the other 2 mortal continents as well. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up as if he had thought of something. With my strength, I can deter the top powers and experts of those 2 mortal continents. At that time, if I offer some favors, I should be able to mobilize the people of those 2 continents to help me find materials. At this moment, Duan Lingtian set his sights on the other 2 mortal continents. Of course, he was mentally prepared. Even if both mortal continents were combined, they might not find enough materials to repair 50% of the third layer. However, even the smallest mosquito is still meat. He would not let go of any opportunity to find materials for the pagoda. Snapping out of it, Duan Lingtian realized the auction had ended. The remaining 2 sets of Saint-grade martial arts sold for even higher prices than the first. This result made Duan Lingtian click his tongue in amazement. Good lad, I see you have a conscience and weren't too ruthless. After the auction ended, Duan Lingtian met Lin Qingrong again. Upon meeting, Lin Qingrong joked with a smile. He had promised to give Duan Lingtian 2 auction items. Duan Lingtian had indeed bid, but the 2 items combined didn't even exceed 10,000 8th-grade Saint Stones. Precisely because of this, he said Duan Lingtian had a conscience. Senior Lin, it was you who was being stingy. Duan Lingtian shook his head and said, having become familiar with Lin Qingrong, he saw that he was a very easygoing person with no airs, someone he could joke with occasionally. Fine, I admit I was stingy today. How about this? At the auction held by the Treasure Pavilion this time next year, you can bid on any number of items within a limit of 100,000 8th-grade Saint Stones. How does that sound? Lin Qingrong scolded laughingly. You said it. Duan Lingtian also laughed. When the time comes, I'll definitely make it a round number for you. Then, after bidding farewell to Lin Qingrong, Duan Lingtian left the Treasure Pavilion, while Lin Qingrong went to attend to his own business. With the auction over, there was still much follow-up work to do. After leaving the treasure pavilion, Duan Lingtian went to the city guard camp. However, he didn't see Captain Hongyu. Since Captain Hongyu wasn't there, the little girl sure naturally wasn't either. It just so happened that the 8 city guard soldiers under Captain Hongyu were all there. After learning from them that Captain Hongyu had gone home, he asked for the address. Immediately afterward, he paid a personal visit. Brother Lingtian. Captain Hongyu was naturally very happy to see Duan Lingtian visit his estate in person and warmly welcomed him inside. Big brother, big brother. As soon as he entered the front yard of Captain Hongyu's home, Duan Lingtian heard a familiar voice. Then, he saw a little girl as pretty as carved jade running from a distance. She ran right up to him and threw her arms around his legs. Oh, sure. You seem to have become prettier. Duan Lingtian crouched down, looked at the little girl's clean, fair face, and smiled. He could tell the little girl had been cleaned up. Sister-in-law helped me bathe and gave me a change of new clothes. The little girl looked up and said to Duan Lingtian, Sister-in-law? Duan Lingtian was startled for a moment before realizing that the sister-in-law sure spoke of was Captain Hongyu's wife. Soon, through Captain Hongyu's introduction, Duan Lingtian met his wife. Captain Hongyu's wife was a delicate-looking and honest-seeming woman. Knowing he was the brother Captain Hongyu had recognized, she was also extremely warm and personally cooked a table full of food and wine. Sister-in-law, there's no need to be so formal with me from now on. Otherwise, I won't dare to come next time. At the dinner table, Duan Lingtian said to Captain Hongyu's wife, Brother Lingtian, Hongyu has very few friends. Since you are his brother, you are my brother. When a brother finally comes home, how could we not host him properly? Captain Hongyu's wife smiled. Sister-in-law, I'm troubling you with sure here. I will find a way to see if I can find her family. If I can, I'll send her home. If not, I will arrange for her as soon as possible and won't trouble you for too long. Duan Lingtian said, Brother Lingtian, those words are too distant. Sure is very cute, and my 2 boys both like her very much. If you can find her family, then so be it. But if not, just let her stay with me. Captain Hongyu's wife said hurriedly. Sure is a pitiful child. As she spoke, her eyes grew moist. She thought of the shocking scars all over the little girl's body when she was helping her bathe earlier. Regarding the little girl sure, she felt both affection and heartache. Thank you, sister-in-law. Duan Lingtian thanked her quickly. He could tell that her words came from the heart, without a hint of falsehood. Brother Lingtian, it seems you still have 7 days before you have to return to the Hidden Dragon Camp, right? For these remaining 7 days, stay at my house. I have a vacant guest room. Captain Hongyu suggested. Besides, you can spend more time with sure. That child didn't stop talking about you all morning. Duan Lingtian glanced at the little girl sure and nodded in agreement. After the meal, Duan Lingtian also met Captain Hongyu's 2 sons, one 2 years old and one 3. They were following behind sure, running around happily. That night, Captain Hongyu went on duty, and Duan Lingtian stayed at his home. In the spacious guest room, the doors and windows were tightly shut. With a single thought, Duan Lingtian entered the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda. Elder Hua, how do I refine the eye of this one-eyed demonic vulture? Weighing the black bead he had bid for at the treasure pavilion today in his hand, Duan Lingtian looked at Elder Hua and asked directly. Whoosh! Just as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Elder Hua didn't say a word, but simply raised his hand. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian found his hand opening uncontrollably, and the black bead flew into Elder Hua's hand. This scene left him deeply shocked. Truly, a starved camel is still bigger than a horse. This was the first time Duan Lingtian had witnessed Elder Hua's strength. In front of Elder Hua, he was like a child, completely vulnerable. A flash before his eyes made Duan Lingtian startle. Then, he saw Elder Hua transform into his true form as a 3-legged golden crow, spitting out a wisp of condensed flame onto the eye of the one-eyed demonic vulture. At this moment, even from a distance, Duan Lingtian clearly felt the space of the first layer of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda gradually heating up, until it became so hot he could hardly bear it. Go to the second layer of the 7 treasures exquisite pagoda. Elder Hua's reminder reached Duan Lingtian's ears. With my current cultivation, it will take at least 3 hours to refine this eyeball of the one-eyed demonic vulture. Come back in 3 hours. By then, I will have refined it, and it can be directly merged into your body. granting you the abilities of the one-eyed demonic vulture. Elder Hua reminded him. Duan Lingtian nodded and then went to the second layer. The space of the second layer was completely isolated from the first, so he couldn't feel even a trace of the heat. Duan Lingtian felt for the first time that 3 hours was such a long time. It felt like half a day had passed, and it still wasn't over. Exactly 3 hours later, the impatient Duan Lingtian flew out and immediately left the second layer to return to the first. Duan Lingtian found that Elder Hua had already returned to his human form. Furthermore, in front of him, a mass of black mist was suspended. With just one glance, he felt as if his soul was being drawn away. The uncomfortable feeling was exactly the same as when he had seen the one-eyed demonic vulture's eye before. In this instant, Duan Lingtian could confirm that this mass of floating black mist was indeed transformed from the one-eyed demonic vulture's eyeball. It had been refined into this state by Elder Hua. Tell me when you're ready. It will hurt a bit when it merges into your eye. Elder Hua spoke at the appropriate time. A bit of pain. Duan Lingtian gave an indifferent smile. Elder Hua, let's begin. Elder Hua nodded. Immediately after, without any visible movement from Elder Hua, the black mist floating in front of him instantly transformed into a thread and shot toward Duan Lingtian's left eye. Duan Lingtian only felt a flash before his eyes, as if something had pierced into his left eye. At first, it felt icy cold, but later, he could feel a distinct sensation of pain. The pain continued to intensify. At first, Duan Lingtian could still endure it, but later on, it became completely unbearable. He felt as if his left eye might explode at any moment. He couldn't see anything in front of him, as if he had gone blind. Due to the pain, Duan Lingtian's body trembled violently. Veins throbbed on his forehead, and his robes were completely soaked with sweat. He gritted his teeth with effort. At some point, his teeth had even begun to bleed. This is what you call a bit of pain. Thinking of Elder Hua's words from just now, Duan Lingtian felt speechless. Even when he had weathered a hail of bullets in his past life and been hit by over a dozen shots, he hadn't even blinked. But now, his brow had already twitched countless times. Gradually, Duan Lingtian became numb from the pain, feeling as though his left eye no longer belonged to him. Amidst the numbness, an unknown amount of time passed. Duan Lingtian discovered that the pain was gradually receding. At the same time, he regained the sensation of his left eye's existence. Eventually, the darkness in his left eye gradually began to brighten. Having experienced boundless darkness, seeing light again, his left eye felt a faint stinging pain. Of course, this bit of stinging was completely insignificant compared to the pain he had just experienced. Can you feel any changes in your left eye? Elder Hua's voice reached Duan Lingtian's ears, bringing him back to his senses as he began to observe his surroundings with his left eye. With just one look, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Heavens, what was he seeing? Duan Lingtian discovered something. Now, everything he saw with his left eye was completely different from what he saw with his right eye. His right eye was as normal as ever. His left eye, however, had undergone an earth-shaking transformation. In the world within the gaze of his left eye, everything seemed to be coated in a layer of incredibly brilliant colors, multicolored and exceptionally vivid. Elder Hua standing before him was now also clearly delineated in his vision. Scalp, face, clothes, belt, hands, shoes. All of this appeared before Duan Lingtian's left eye as if it had been deliberately outlined. Taking a deep breath, Duan Lingtian could even clearly see the traces of heaven and earth's spiritual chi flowing, strand after strand. One must know that he was unable to see these things before. Whoosh! With a light lift of his hand, Duan Lingtian's sleeves fluttered, stirring up a faint breeze. Within this breeze, Duan Lingtian's left eye even captured extremely tiny specks of dust. All of this was so natural, not appearing abrupt in the slightest. Swoosh! Right then, Duan Lingtian discovered that Elder Hua had thrown a punch at him without any warning, the wind from the punch raging and causing the air to vibrate. In Duan Lingtian's right eye, this punch from Elder Hua was a mere afterimage. But in Duan Lingtian's left eye, this punch had become slightly slower. He could even see the trajectory of the airflow diffusing in all directions as the fist passed through. Elder Hua's punch is comparable to a punch from a late profound level martial cultivator. Duan Lingtian's right eye could judge this point. Elder Hua's fist was aimed at Duan Lingtian's left eye and came without warning. If it were the previous Duan Lingtian, he would certainly have been hit by this punch that was practically a sneak attack. After all, Elder Hua was right in front of him. Moreover, his attention had not been on Elder Hua from beginning to end. He had no way to dodge. But now, as this punch reached the front of Duan Lingtian's left eye and was about to strike, in that instant, Duan Lingtian discovered to his shock that his mental energy was instantly flooding into his left eye. In a split second, he felt his left eye grow hot. If Duan Lingtian were given a mirror now, he would find that within the pupil of his left eye, a black vortex was constantly spinning, as if it could swallow everything. As mental energy poured into his left eye, it became hotter and hotter. Duan Lingtian discovered with horror that within the range of his left eye's vision, Elder Hua's fist seemed to have frozen in place. It was just frozen there right before his eyes. Not only that, he also found that the ripples in the air stirred up around Elder Hua's fist also seemed to have paused. Time seemed to stand still at this moment. Soon, Duan Lingtian discovered again that Elder Hua's fist hadn't frozen, but had slowed down. It became very, very slow. As Duan Lingtian's left eye narrowed, Elder Hua's fist actually bizarrely shifted to the side, narrowly missing him. Immediately after, he felt a wave of dizziness. Deep in his mind, the originally dense mental energy was now almost completely exhausted, and his left eye stopped feeling hot. Not bad. Elder Hua's voice came at the right time. In the future, as your mental energy grows stronger, the ability of your left eye will also become stronger and stronger. After a while, Duan Lingtian recovered and asked, Elder Hua, what exactly happened just now? Your left eye has already inherited the ability of the one-eyed demonic vulture. More accurately, it is the ability of that specific eye of the one-eyed demonic vulture. Elder Hua said, that eye of the one-eyed demonic vulture relies on mental energy to operate. Once activated, the flow of space within its field of vision will become extremely slow. You should have felt it just now, Elder Hua added. The flow of space within the field of vision becomes extremely slow. Duan Lingtian recalled the scene from just now. Just now, Elder Hua's fist should have hit his left eye. However, just as Elder Hua's fist approached his left eye, his mental energy had bizarrely flooded into his left eye. Then, his left eye began to grow hot. At that time, the speed of Elder Hua's fist also became very slow. However, during this process, his mental energy was also rapidly burning away. In just an instant, it was almost completely exhausted. Then, Elder Hua's fist had strangely shifted to the side. This is too incredible, isn't it? Because his mental energy was almost completely exhausted, Duan Lingtian's face had turned extremely pale, but his eyes were filled with shock. It's nothing incredible. This is the one-eyed demonic vulture's signature skill. Elder Hua said, the most valuable part of a one-eyed demonic vulture is its eye. Being able to obtain it can be considered your good luck. It's thanks to you, Elder Hua, for recognizing its value and being able to help me refine it. At this point, Duan Lingtian also calmed down. If you hadn't encountered it, I wouldn't have recognized it either, Elder Hua said. However, although the ability of the one-eyed demonic vulture's eye is bizarre, the consumption of mental energy is also massive. I see that you only used it for one look just now, and your mental energy seems to be nearly exhausted. Yes, it's almost completely gone. Duan Lingtian nodded. What you need to do now is to control it. Let it activate its ability according to your will, rather than having it activate randomly at any time. Elder Hua added, Duan Lingtian nodded again. Also, your current left eye, even when not using the one-eyed demonic vulture's ability, is completely different from before. You must have noticed this point. Elder Hua said, yes, with my left eye, everything I see now is clearly organized. Duan Lingtian had also discovered this. Research it well yourself. My understanding of the one-eyed demonic vulture is limited to what I just said. I cannot be certain if its eye has other abilities. Elder Hua said, Duan Lingtian nodded, while also sincerely thanking Elder Hua. Thank you, Elder Hua. To put it in common terms, you and I are now grasshoppers on the same string. If your strength is high, you'll have a bit more power to protect yourself. A rare smile appeared on Elder Hua's face. On this planet, the only one who could probably make the 7 treasures' exquisite pagoda acknowledge them as master is you. If you were to die, I'm afraid I would have to stay on this planet with it forever. Elder Hua, in the future, after the 7 treasures' exquisite pagoda is completely repaired, I will definitely return your freedom. Duan Lingtian looked at Elder Hua and promised with a serious expression, "Freedom." Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Elder Hua's body shook, and the way he looked at Duan Lingtian again became extremely complex. However, a bit of touched emotion still rose in his heart. "Elder Hua, please go ahead and cultivate. I won't disturb you further." After saying that to Elder Hua, Duan Lingtian returned to the second floor of the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda and began to recover his mental energy. His mental energy was almost completely exhausted. It would take at least half a month to fully recover. Therefore, for the next half month, Duan Lingtian cultivated while recovering his mental energy. Of course, mental energy recovered on its own without Duan Lingtian needing to worry about it. Half a month later, Duan Lingtian finally left the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda. Half a month on the second floor of the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda was equivalent to 5 days outside. "I have to return to the Hidden Dragon camp within 2 days," Duan Lingtian thought to himself. After putting away the Seven Treasures' exquisite pagoda, Duan Lingtian went to the dressing table in the room and sat down. His gaze was fixed on himself in the mirror. To be precise, it was fixed on his left eye. Fortunately, it's still the same as before, no visible changes. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'd be treated like a monster. Duan Lingtian muttered to himself with some lingering fear. "I wonder if I can actively merge my mental energy into my left eye." With a thought, Duan Lingtian tentatively merged his mental energy into his left eye and found that there was no resistance. It merged in very easily. When he felt his left eye grow hot, he could see in the mirror that a small black vortex had appeared in his left eye.